My name's David Paterson. I'm a former British Army Brigadier. I joined the Army in 1983 and left it 30 years later. In my latter part of my career, I had several jobs in the sort of training domain. Firstly, responsible for all of the British Army's training in Germany, and then secondly, training the Afghan Army, particularly the institutional forces. That was all of their sort of schoolhouses and things like that. And then my last job was with the British Army's NATO headquarters, the Allied Rapid Reaction Corps. And so I left the Army in tail end of 2013 and joined 4C Strategies in January 2014. A lot of my latter part of my career was involved in training, and I had recognised during that time that there was a need for some form of software-based training management system. Whilst I was running the training in Germany, we used to basically sort of track as best we could on using letters and Excel files and pass the training on from institution to institution. It was a pretty unsatisfactory way of doing it, and had I had the brains at the time, I would have got around to inventing something. So I saw what 4C Strategies had to offer, and was obviously very interested in that, and I was lucky enough to be offered a position by them. Firstly, there is a requirement for a lot more of a blended training. And by blended training, I mean a mix of the sort of live, virtual, constructive. In the past, soldiers have gone on exercise in the field and they've conducted a field training exercise. They might have gone into a synthetic environment somewhere and done a command and staff training exercise. What's happening now, in order to challenge the full spectrum of what's expected, we're doing a lot more blended training. So we need an exercise management system like Exonaut that can be configured and used to support both live, virtual and constructive training at the same time. I think the second theme that is becoming much more prevalent is the need to get the most out of training, to understand where a training audience is in its training progression, and so understand the training risk that the organisation is carried. Now, Exonaut is an objective-based training management system, so it starts with a training objective, and you can assign training objectives to activities. So whether it's a tabletop exercise, whether it's a live exercise, whether it's one of these blended exercises that I was describing earlier, we can assign objectives to that, and we can track the progress of those objectives. And I think that the big trend that's coming now is that the requirement for a lot more objectivity and data to come out from those, or to be exploited by that system. So we're looking now at sort of using body-worn metrics. We're looking at getting data from force on force, all sorts of different data sources that will then be aggregated and added to the observations that are Exonaut-enabled, tablet-enabled observers will be carrying, and they produce the context, which is really, really important in what's going on, but they'll have this additional data. And then the third theme really is this whole business, as I was describing earlier, about visualizing data. So taking that data, displaying it appropriately, so that commanders can start to make decisions. So if we're in a training progression mapped in Exonaut, we can see where we are in that training progression, and the training audience can understand, where they've got to, what they're doing well, what they're doing not so well, and the training staff can see, okay, what part of the exercise has gone well, did that particular serial meet the outcomes that we expected, and then commanders can say, okay, well, if we need to do that serial again, how much money is it going to cost to deliver the output that we want. So I think those are the main sort of themes that I'm noticing.